Early Spaniards called this river Brazos a Dios, which translates to the arms of God. Nestled here were farms, ranches, and small businesses that provided for the needs of the people of Granbury, which was the Hood County seat. The years between World War I and II were important times in Granbury. The town was a county focal point as well as a community center for church and politics, mostly Baptists and Democrats, in that order. The 1886 Opera House was a popular place for family entertainment. All was reasonably quiet on this western front. That is, until the state of Texas permitted a dam on the river at De Cordova Bend.
You go talk to my family and many others who own land on the lake, and they were very, very sad. And Granbury and Hood County had the largest native pecan producing orchards around the Brazos River of any county in the state of Texas. It drowned all of them. So, do you think those people would have been pleased?
Landowners complained homesteads, ranches, and farms would be inundated. Land that was held by generations, productive farmland, was to be swallowed by advancing shorelines. There was indeed smoke on the water.
After I came back here for our visits in 1950, people were already worried about what was going to happen when the dam came in. And after it took a while to get used to what was going on, and there was a lot of questions about the Leonard brothers and the Brazos Valley authorities' main motivations. But in any case, I guess the people who were living here, including my parents, finally decided that it was probably a good thing. It would bring in some new ideas and some new people into the area. And Granbury was just then recovering, after the World War II, just recovering from the results of the Depression. So there was a lot of anticipation that things would be better after the dam came in.
Then the developers moved in, and as they bought up the lakeside land, some former owners became wealthy.
Hello, my name is Jane Leonard Anthony. I am the fourth and the youngest daughter of Marjorie and O.B. Leonard. In the early 30s, Dad began buying properties in Hood County. His first purchase was a pecan orchard north of Granbury. This was later covered up by the Lake Granbury. He was a great guy, and I wish everyone could have known him.
First, let me say Mr. Obie was a good man. He was very instrumental in getting our lake started here. I know back in 1949, after I got out of the service, I was over at his house one night, and he had all the plans already laid out for the Cordova Bend Estates. And I told Mr. Obie then that when I was a kid, I'd heard my dad say that the lake was 20 years closer than it was first time he had heard about it. But Mr. Obie said, we're going to get it, and he did.
Everyone hurried to jump on the bandwagon. Boarded storefronts were reopened on the town square. Trinkets and heirlooms were retrieved from long closed trunks in dusty attics. The word antique had taken on a new meaning. A sleepy town had been awakened. The Brazos River needed a dam. The power utility had long-range plans to construct a nuclear-powered plant. A dam on the River Brazos would supply the water they needed. So, with a guarantee for the necessary funding, the Brazos River Authority was able to agree to sell water to customers downstream. Leonard Bend Farm was just one of many.
My grandfather said, you probably won't be able to go fishing in the Brazos River anymore because of the lake. So there were a lot of those type of worries, but at the same time there was some feelings that probably there was some change necessary in Hood County, because Hood County was still being in the throes of the Depression. There were not very many new people coming in and not very many new ideas. So my opinion is that there were a lot of folks who, although they said they were not in favor of any changes, were really secretly hopeful that their things would improve financially.
It just so happened that other than losing our native spring, or natural spring, I should say, that had flowed for eons, our land was on the bluff side of the river, and so it brought the water up to our land. We had never been able to get to our river. We didn't have but just a small frontage. But my father-in-law lost so much, and he was so sad, and some of my other relatives, that I felt very, very sad for them. But personally, I was a city girl by then, and my husband was a realtor, so that's why I know both sides of the story.
Unfortunately, some developments were made rather hurriedly. Roads were not paved. Water supplies were at times inadequate. Few, if any, building and zoning restrictions were in place. But in all fairness, needs were met and the entrepreneurs were selling lots. In short, few amenities were offered.
Yes, people did start coming to Granbury. I found it very interesting. When I went to college, not a soul could even know what I said when I said the name of my town, and then suddenly everybody knew where Granbury was. And we got pretty excited. We had some town hall meetings that got us started. We didn't know what we were doing, but really and truly, the people of Granbury had lived in a rut for so many years that we didn't really know much about the outside world. But the new people began to come in. The realtors were selling property hand over fist, and the old storefronts had all managed to survive, just needed to be dusted off and updated. And little shops began to open, and then bigger shops began to open. And fortunately, there was one lady who had returned to Granbury. She had been born here and then left during her adult life, but she came back to retire here, and she was wise enough to get some of the other local people to join her and form we called it the Historical Society. It had a more formal name, but with that group to work together, they inquired about how to make the town square of Granbury an historical site. And it was done. It was the first one done in the state of Texas. And it gave us control, it still gives us control of the outward appearance of every building on the town square. And it prevents the use of neon lighting and bright, garish colors and things that we had already seen used that we knew we did not want to come back. And through that effort, it made a big difference and continues to make a difference. It also makes some enemies of people who want to do some more exciting modern things. And they can do it inside their buildings, but not on the outside. And then this same lady went to work and began to acquire historical markers for many of the buildings on the square. And we more or less all sort of joined in, and we probably have as many historical markers as any town.
I was appointed on a committee to contact all the landowners, especially the large landowners around the lake, because the Corps of Engineers had called us together and me on this committee. And their story was if they wanted too much for the land, well, they wouldn't be able to put the lake in. So we contacted all the landowners and tried to convince them that their property would be worth more with the lake here than it would without. Corps of Engineers gave us all this spiel about how it's going to be the only constant level lake in this area and how much more valuable their land would be. So we went around to all the property owners that had confidence in the local people of telling them something, and it got a general price for all the land. Well, after we got all of that settled, it went on in a committee meeting much later on. Colonel Wells, who was the head engineer, I guess, and then there was Colonel Hunter, who was a project engineer. But we had a meeting one night, and Colonel Wells came up with a statement that some of the people had been telling the property owners that it's going to be a constant level lake. And he said, we want you to know that it's not. Well, that blew some of us' mind, you know, some of us more conservative ones anyway.
Of course, what we're talking about here is a place to spend the family weekend, a fishing and swimming retreat. As retirees came into the picture, more elaborate homes resulted. The idea was to create a cornucopia for everyone. Lake Granbury was a focal point of the proverbial horn. Then, as now, money was the motivation behind it all.
We still didn't have any idea what was going to happen here. We'd been small for so many years and so almost backwoodsy that we had no foresight, or most of us didn't. And so when the influx of population just hit us, there was nothing in the county or the city ready to accept so much population. And it didn't affect the city very much because we were a pretty small, compact area. But in the county, suddenly we had people building houses expecting police protection 24 hours a day. When the lake came in, I think we probably had one police car for the city. We might have been up to 2. And I don't think our county, they may have by that time started a radio, they may have had radios in 1 or 2 of their deputy cars. We were backward, unfortunately. My own husband went to a Lions Club meeting one day, and he came home telling me that a representative from Southwestern Bell had been there. And he said, "You're not going to believe what they were trying to project the population to be in the next 15 to 20 years. And my husband really was pretty foresighted himself, so I was surprised when it surprised him. And now I think of that what didn't even begin to cover what has happened.
Although at the same time there were a lot of questions about what would happen to the taxes and the school system and the impact on the square in particular, what was going to happen to the traffic around the square, and that sort of thing.
As predicted, there were more problems than there were immediate solutions. Visitors to this bonanza caused traffic problems to the courthouse square and also to roads in and out and around the county. An exploding population created a need for more schools, churches, medical facilities, and other types of businesses to accommodate these additions. These were problems that affected both the local residents and the influx of new residents. Those in political power in city and county offices did not seem to grasp the immediacy of this dilemma, especially where outlying developments were concerned.
Since my husband was in real estate, he was working on the inside with a lot of the development going on. So I knew a lot more about it than many of the average residents would have known. And since I was selling insurance, we began to go out and call on all these new residents. I got to know a lot of them before other people did. But it was, it was unbelievable. It still is. We're still trying to play catch up.
In my opinion, the city and the county have done a pretty good job given the task they had and the resources they had to start with. They started out behind and they just stayed behind.
Some of the developments attracted people who wanted a more cityfied rather than a resort community atmosphere, and so some of these areas became privately owned and more elaborate. With this concept, the prevailing, largely democratic local government became severely challenged by the Republican side of the ledger. However, wise heads prevailed and to a creditable degree rose above political limitations.
My daddy, Orrin C. Baker, was sheriff and tax assessor here in Hood County from 1951 to 54, 1969 to 72, and they began impounding the lake in 69. I think he would probably be pleased with the way the people of Granbury and Hood County have responded to the challenge.
I oftentimes sound very negative when I discuss the changes here, but I do have to agree we've had a lot of advantages brought to us. I can now do all my shopping in downtown Granbury, and I used to go out of town for almost everything I bought. My mother even bought most of her groceries in Fort Worth. And that could have been the reason that some of our stores didn't grow anymore. But anyway, that was our lifestyle. And some very, very interesting and lovely people have moved into our area, and they have brought new ideas. And it's been nice to know them. We see more money in our county now than was ever. Nobody can even dream that we would see the houses that we see today. There are really and truly a few old timers left. Most of them hide. I'm one that just decided if I couldn't lick them, I'd join them. So I've always been out in the front making noise, but I will talk to some of my friends and they will say, where does the money come from that these people spend here? And I said, well, what's the difference? As my city council or the mayor is saying, it brings tax money to the county and to the cities. So we learned to like it, but it has brought many problems too. But we learned here that in dealing with the public and the tourists and so forth, that anything that really has hurt us or that we really don't like, you just smile and say that's progress.
It's been our privilege for many years to participate in this development, and so I say thank you, Granbury, thank you, Brazos River Authority, and most of all, thank you, Dad.
Looking back at the many, many challenges, Granbury has changed from a largely rural community to a quaint village surrounded by upscale and resort-type developments with the understanding that growth is accompanied by growing pains. Streets have been added and old ones widened. New schools and medical facilities have been built. Water and sewage control has been addressed, and in the main, the old has been replaced by the new. Visitor accommodations have vastly improved. developers have responded likewise with improved utilities and facilities. Today, everyone is looking forward to a new century with eyes wide open to the challenges ahead. Smoke is clearing from the water. We must all be proud of the collective efforts involved. Granbury and Hood County remain like the Brazos River in the arms of God.
We swam the Guadalupe, walked down the Brazos, Red River runs rusty, Wichita clear. Down by the Brazos I courted my dear, singing Lily, 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 give me your hand. Lily, 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 give me your hand. Lily, 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 give me your hand. There's many a river that waters this land. The sweet Angelina goes gleaming and gliding, the crooked Colorado weaving and winding, the slow San Antonio courses the plains, but I never will ride by that Brazos again.